Hello, everybody. My name's Tony Cardenas, and this is the Indy Real Estate Market Weekly Podcast. Today, we have special guest on the show, Raquel Walters, with the FC.Tucker team with the Shelly Walters group. Shelly Walters is on the show, along with Kyle Morris FC.Tucker. Is this an FC.Tucker show today? I don't know. But the bottom line is, we are going to talk about first-time home buyers with Raquel because she's in that. Raquel, what is the area you're in? The GIN?
So I am technically a millennial, which millennials are like 26, 27 to 42.
So we're going to talk about that range, okay, of people buying their homes the very first time. And then after you talk with your mother here with FC.Tucker and Kyle, we're going to go through that. And then towards the end of the show, we'll do the stats. Is that good, everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, Shelly, how you been?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
Kyle, how you been?
I've been really good. Tired.
Okay.
It's been very, very busy, but we got some vacations lined up coming up.
Raquel, how you been?
Been good.
Okay. Shelly, let's kick it off.
Okay, so what we thought would be interesting is Raquel does watch all the comments from the podcast, and so she does see quite a bit coming back in regards to affordability. And we hear that obviously out in the real world all the time, but the comments are coming from a lot of people stating that they don't feel that there's affordability for first-time home buyers, just no possible way of getting a home, just real dread out there. So we thought it'd be interesting to talk to her from her own point of view with her friends and people she knows, and then also the comments that we're getting. So that's why we have Raquel today.
Right. And I'm sure that Raquel and her friends are probably thinking, you know, this is crazy. I mean, I don't know what you pay in rent, and I'm not going to ask. But it's just not all about you. It's about your friends and the real estate market. We do the show up here on the Indy North Side in Carmel. And it's not Carmel. It's like everywhere in the state of Indiana. What can people afford what they get for the first time out of the, should we call it like
First-time homebuyers.
first-time home buyers? I mean, trying to get the heck out of wasting money on an apartment.
Well, I mean, it's hard too because like one of the reasons we want to talk about this is it's not just like about the affordability with like how do you buy a home as a first-time home buyer and all this other stuff and being introduced to the market and what the market is like because it's a very dynamic market the past 3 years. So it'd be hard for anybody who hasn't even, I don't care if it's your third home.
Yeah, we know how to do the paperwork and everything. It's just
no. So like, I mean, in the past 3 years, I don't care if you've owned 5 houses. If you haven't bought in the past 3 years, you don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
I'll just be honest, right? And so, let alone if you've had no experience with it whatsoever. But rent is so freaking high, man. It's ridiculous. You know, I mean, I have people who are like, "Hey, can you help me find a rental for like $900?" Like, it's hard. I mean, it is really hard to find anything sub like 11, 1200, and most of them, quite honestly, are like 17. Like that's just the reality of it. You know?
I ask people all the time what they're paying in rents, and it's shocking what my daughter and her friend pay in rent. And then I think, oh my God, that's crazy. And then I talk to somebody else, and I just had somebody tell me the other day, on Indy's north side, up by the Keystone the Crossing area, they're paying $2,100 a month in rent. It blows me away.
So a lot of my friends are actually still living with their parents because they can't even rent. And so that's a big problem too, is like we're not able to rent. So it's like people are always saying, buy, it's better than renting. And it's like, well, we can't even rent. So like, how do you think we can expect to buy a house if we can't even rent?
Well, and the other thing about that too is having that down payment, like so, and having at least getting in an FHA for 3.5% down if you don't qualify for a VA loan or anything else. But Kyle, you have some information. Other ideas.
We just did 3 of them with down payment assistance. One of them is about to close in a week. The other 2 just closed 2 weeks ago, and we found them all homes within 45 days. Right,
but we did an episode all about that. So if you're needing that information, we have that episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's just multiple options out there. With the down payment assistance, there's a variety of programs out there. There's one where you don't owe the down payment back if as long as you don't sell within 7 years. There's one that's 9 years. Like there's just a couple different options out there. If you actually look at the contract too, I think there's a little bit for agents out there. If you look at the contract and it says is seller or is buyer using down payment assistance? Well, the actual sentence says, are they using a down payment assistance that requires additional inspections? So a normal down payment assistance, you would not actually have to check that box because not all of them actually need additional inspections with them or additional conditions with them. So sometimes even like just knowing your contracts and the loan programs that you're writing an offer for matters, because I think everybody thinks when you're using a down payment assistance that it weakens your offer, and that's a perception thing, and that gets into education. That's a much larger.
It doesn't.
It doesn't at all, right? But I mean, that's a societal conception, right? And so like we try to change that one person at a time, but you don't even have to put it on there in a lot of instances, and we're putting it in there. So, some of it's just knowing the contracts and stuff like that. Some of it's knowing better timelines, some of it's knowing the areas better. Some of it's knowing what we can get and what we can't get. If you're looking for down payment assistance up here on the south part of Hamilton County, like it's going to be difficult. It just is, right? But if you want to go up into the northern parts of Hamilton County, or a little bit out east, like you're going to have a little bit better luck, right? Or if you go into, like when we get into like the numbers of like what's available out there, there's 100% options out there, and it's super doable. So
can I ask you, Kyle, can you explain more about the down payment assistance? Is that based on income? Is it based on the price of the home? What's it based on when you qualify for that?
When you qualify for it, it really comes down to income,
and
how much liquidity you have.
Well, income
is a big part of it,
right?
So.
Income, what you already have in the bank. Not all programs are the same, just like
Correct,
you said.
yeah.
Income, how much you got in the bank, and what your debt ratio is.
Yeah, DTI is major. When it comes to that.
Major.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, the nice thing is, there is a new down payment assistance program coming out Monday that they're giving 2% down, so you only have to use 1% of your own money. Mm-hmm. So for a $300,000 home or $250,000 home, you'd only have to put XYZ down versus the whole 3.5%.
Yeah.
You'd have to put 1.5% down. But some of them, to answer your question, it depends on which lender's offering the program, because they're all the money's coming from different grants.
Yep, and they're different programs. I mean, they're just
Completely
and so you just need a good loan officer, talk to Tony, and kind of figure out.
Well, I'm not a loan officer, but our company.
He can connect you to find out which one works for you.
Right,
but,
because I want to take the 2% one that I don't ever have to pay back, but I think you have to stay in that home 7 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, so to talk about your friends and your world, what are you hearing? What do you guys talk about?
Well, that just jumping off of that, it's like, so there's a couple things. So the first thing is, like, we're always talking about rates. Okay, that's something we really can't control, so we care about that, but it's like our secondhand care about thing. Right. The first thing is we care about what we have to put out of our pocket, so quotation marks. So the biggest thing is, we already just addressed the down payment side, like how we can fix that, but it's also all the closing costs, the earnest money, and everything that goes into having to buy the home that we also have to look into. So when we're
and to understand it and be clear,
right.
That's what you're talking about.
Right. So it's like we're more focused on what money do we have that we can afford to buy this home.
Right.
And one thing is, a lot of people I know have 3 to 4 jobs with degrees and still can't afford a home.
Well,
I'd question that. Can they not afford a home, or have they not talked to somebody to actually explain to them what kind of home they can afford?
Right.
Because that's the thing. Like when I first bought my house, I bought a 3-bedroom ranch.
Me too.
Over at like 79th and Harcourt. I mean, obviously it was cheaper then, but rates were high. I mean, you're talking. I mean, this was like 2003, I think. I think part of it is expectations, just to be honest with you, because there's so much with social media and there's so much with television of what is actually expected with a first-time home, and like that's just not a luxury you have. That tends to be your second or third home, right? Your first home really is the reason you want to buy a house is you're paying down, you're getting equity, plus you get appreciation. And a lot of times the reasons you're struggling to compete on some of these other homes that are a little bit more expensive is because those people don't have that money saved up. They're using equity from the home they're selling. And so it's like, where do people have these money? it's in the house that they own, right? And so that's, I think, a part of the problem is the expectation of what I can afford with what I'm actually going to pay. And so people are like, well, I can't get what I want, so I won't do it. When in reality, you should probably do it so you can actually afford it.
But the thing that she's saying too is that they are going in blinded. Where you and I know this stuff.
Well, this is what I was going to say. So we need to have, with especially first-time home buyers, they need to understand that there is a lot to look at. And if they're sitting at home trying to like
do it on their
out,
own, yeah.
We really highly recommend finding an agent that you can trust and do a buyer consultation. And it may talk, I mean, you may have to talk to them 2 or 3 times to really get a good feel for it. We bring in the loan officer and sit down and talk to you at the same time, because there's all kinds of things that we can answer, the loan officer can answer. Because if you have full amount of information that you can go out, well educated, you'll be a lot more comfortable. But
Right.
you really need to have somebody with you that you highly trust to help you go through this and navigate this process, because there is a lot. And there are ways, Kyle, you said you just did it 3 times in the past month. We work with first-time home buyers all the time as well. And what we do is help you navigate the process, but also help you find the home that you're looking for and what you need. It may not be, your dream home. And Kyle, you said it specifically. Buy one now so that you can start that equity process,
position,
so you
right.
can really start to gain a home ownership, possibility. And then in 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years, then you can start to move up. But the expectations, I hate to say it, but I think kind of sometimes the generation is get it now. And it just might not be, what you're really, really wanting, but just get a home.
Kind of like your first car. You're not going to get.
Yeah,
You're going
It's completely different than a first car, but you're not going to get the perfect car round one.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're paying for it and somebody's not giving it to you or buying it for you, you're not going to get the perfect car.
But
you don't even know what you want.
Yeah,
well,
but
I know
every
that,
year
but that's
that-
like a house too. I mean, obviously you're educated in this field, but we're talking for your
Right,
category.
in general.
But the bottom line is for you to understand how much down payment do I have to have, and then what are the closing costs? Okay, why do I have to have homeowners insurance? Why are the taxes included in my mortgage payment? Well, that's only if you have 20% or less in the deal. Okay, and the bottom line is FHA. What's the benefits of FHA to get you into a home? And what is MIP that goes on top of the mortgage loan? Just so a person can make an educated, qualified decision in their brain to say, now, just don't go out and buy a home because that payment fits and you only have to come up with $5,000.
Know what you're doing. Yeah.
Know what you're doing.
And all
that's
is
what people.
overwhelming to hear.
It's
just like
overwhelming.
Yeah, and that's where and then like there are obviously not you guys, but there are some realtors that are like, you should know all this and like get political. And I was like, find that realtor that I know. Obviously, I'm still because I've been around you guys forever. Like
A lot of them don't.
Helps you. Wants
right.
to help you, not just be like.
Well, those
you
are the
should know
realtors,
this.
in my opinion, like Shelly and Kyle here and Justin Griffith, and a lot of them I know. Those are the realtors that are getting the first-time home buyers, and then the second-time home buyers, and then the third. I mean, how many times have you sold somebody a first-time home 15 years ago, and you've already sold them round 2 or round 3?
Well, yeah, and that gets to the point of buy your home, and then so you can continue to go up and up and up as you want. You start to get married or whatever, be ready to do that. The other thing, we can also ask for a seller to pay for your closing costs in today's market. We're really starting to get to that. But to get back to writing that offer and getting the house and saying we help you, you really need an agent to understand this market, to knows how to write that offer and get your offer accepted. Because like Kyle said, if somebody sees a little check mark that they have down payment assistance, you need to educate potentially the other agent to help educate the seller. This is not a bad buyer.
Yeah.
So these offers that are going out for first-time home buyers, there might be a lot of people out there that have made 3, 4, 5 offers and they're not getting anywhere. That offer has to be crafted very specifically.
Yeah. It's an art.
It is a very big art in today's world, and you don't just slap 8 pages to somebody and say, here's our offer. Not in today's world.
You know what I think we ought to do I can't do it next week or the week after that, probably in 4 weeks, what we ought to do with Raquel, okay, and this is only if everybody feels comfortable, we'll do the show at a different location where we have large whiteboard and we can break it down for people and maybe show it on our YouTube channel. Okay, because
it's easier to digest when you can see it.
It is easier to digest, and that way you're going to be able to answer a lot more questions, and it's going to help a lot of people listen to our channel because we're always talking about another side of our world.
Well, the other thing we can also do, and I think we get requested of this, maybe we should just potentially, if we plan that, is have an open forum and actually have a first-time home buyer class, where if you are kind of interested in
later
seeing,
on we can do that after we get it.
But if you want to, that's the beginning steps, and then we can individualize it down to the specific person.
And so for you, you said like what we're talking about is overwhelming for you, right?
Right.
So I have people.
For someone that actually is technically in the business too.
But here's the crazy part. I have people who are buying their second and third homes who still feel that way, right? It's just you don't know what you don't know. And so you're like, maybe I can't do this because it's too much. I mean, I have people who've done this multiple times and it's still a lot to digest.
It is every time.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to it.
Like you said, though, too, if you bought a house 4 or 5 years ago and you're starting to buy a house today.
You don't know what it's like.
No.
Which is going
totally
on to that.
different. Totally
it's a whole different animal than it was 4 and 5 years ago. But you got a lot of notes over there, Raquel. So let's go. Let's knock them out.
So I'm jumping off of that. We did have a comment, as we were saying earlier. So I do all like the editing and I do all the YouTube and everything. So I see comments, and this one stood out to me the most because we were talking about this. So obviously I don't know their house. I don't know anything that they did to the house, just what they said. So they said, my parents' house cost them roughly $100,000 in 1990. Now it is selling for roughly $800,000, and it's the same house. So I kind of Googled what $100,000 would be in today's money. It would have been $232,106.35. So
that's hard though, because that is area specific, because not every because that is a very disproportionate jump, quite honestly, right? Like I can understand 100 to 500 or whatever it may be, but like if you're in Carmel, like an older home and like kind of this
Meridian Kessler,
like so that's very difficult, right? But I'd also argue this
the jump is crazy.
But here's what you don't that doesn't get applied to that. Like we always just take the pieces that we want that kind of work for us. You also don't know what interest rates were back then, right? You also don't know what cost of living was back then. And you also don't know what people made back then, right? And so $100,000 back then, like people weren't clocking in 100 G's a year like it was you know what I mean? Like you were, upper middle class at like 50,000 a year, just so you know, right? And so a lot of that doesn't get taken into consideration when you start to look at those numbers, because in like I would argue proportionately of what your monthly expenditure is, it's all pretty the same. You know what I mean? I mean, it just is. So that doesn't get brought into
But that scenario, I'd really have to dissect it, and I could bring everything out and go back to a certain year and a certain area.
Yeah.
It's like I was just telling you, my father's first home, it was in the 50s. It was at 3800 North on Central Avenue. It was $18,000, and my dad told me we almost couldn't afford it. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me.
My grandpa's house he bought out of a Sears catalog
$18,000
for $5,000.
But the interest rates were 18% or 17 or 16% back then. It was crazy.
Interesting to see what all the actual into that would be. That
So this is a really, really good segment. What's another thing that you got?
I know we're talking about Indiana specific, but I was watching someone and I just thought this was interesting. We don't have to really dive into it. Apparently Australia is having the same exact
Absolutely
issue.
they are.
So it's like everybody thinks it's just the States, but it's like multiple people are right now having this because the pandemic, like we said, if you did a house 3 years ago, it's different than today. So I think it is affecting a lot more people than just the States.
Right.
Well, and there's two things you said that I want to say. Is one thing is why we say to buy a home is this is showing when you buy a home, real estate's one of the very, very best investments you can make. So if you purchase a home, you're making a huge investment in yourself and your family. Number two is watching these houses go up in price is helping you have that investment. But we are watching these houses go up in price daily and yearly. So in the past 2 years, we've seen these houses go up 20%
or more.
So if you're thinking you want to buy a home and you're still sitting on the fence and thinking about it, next year it's probably going to be more expensive. Maybe not going up as rapidly as it has been, but if you sit on the sidelines and continue to wait for the proper time, it's just going to cost you more money.
Well, that's the fear that people are like, we're on the edge of a cliff and it's going to drop.
Yeah, no.
And I understand. Like people see that everywhere. We don't have the inventory to support that. It's not even an economic, as far as like the state
Supply
of the
and
economy.
demand.
It's a supply and demand
You're
issue.
absolutely right.
That's what it
Guys.
is. It's just kind of independent of itself, quite honestly.
And even if rates go down, as they say, maybe to 5.5, that's not a big
No.
change for you. No. And again, how you can get help from your sellers, you can ask for points to go down to get you to that already right now to 5.5%. You can do all kinds of things. This gets back to the consultation of what do you need? How can we help you get what you need and get there? So rates shouldn't matter, but just to know that if you're going to continue to sit and wait and wonder, how can I do this? It's just going to cost you more.
Yeah, we're going to do 2-1 buy downs are
Yep.
back, right? Like
Yep.
we were talking about those when rates had jumped up into the high fives, and
Yeah.
now it's like 7, and like it's just fallen off the radar.
Yeah.
Part of that's because it was the selling season, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But as we all know, like market's a little wonky right now as far as like if it's turnkey, it 100% is gone in less than 5 days. Everything else though is kind of sitting, and if it's sitting over 5 days. I would argue it's a little bit of a buyer's market, quite honestly, for those properties in particular. Like, you have some
I
leverage,
agree with that.
You know,
but here's the craziest thing: if you bought, and I'm just going to use this number right now, just so everybody understands, and we can always go back to it. It's going to be an easy number. But if you did buy something for $250,000, okay, 3 years ago when the rates were great, okay, first-time home buyer, and the interest rate was, I'm just going to put it in at 3% because we were there. Okay, your payment would have been $1,593. Okay, and I have to tell you that the property taxes would be $539 on that. But here's the crazy thing: that payment would go up to $2,202 with today's rates.
$700 a month.
$700 a month, which stops buyers and sellers from getting rid of their home because they can't upgrade. Okay, so what you just said, Shelly, when we get to 5%, okay, our 5% number is going to go down to $1,881. So it may not seem like 5% is a great deal, but really it's a hell of a deal. Mm-hmm. The thing that you're going to see when it comes to inventory that you were talking about, the inventory will come out off the shelves a little easier, right? I think you'll see prices. I think that you'll see less discounts because of a good rate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, list to sale ratio is still running around 100%.
Well, I know it
Yeah.
is here.
Yeah.
No, I know
right,
that.
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying. So
But we're
we're not seeing 104 and 105 anymore.
Right,
yeah,
right,
but I
right.
would say like to buy it at list with a little bit of seller concessions,
Right.
is a buyer's market compared
Right.
to what we've been in the past couple
That's
of
what I
years.
mean.
Right?
And you can
Yeah,
ask for inspection stuff now, or give a little bit lower.
So
I mean,
go
we
ahead
were
and
giving
closing costs.
$5,000.
But we're
issues,
getting.
now
But the
one.
thing is, back to her and the first-time home buyers, and where she feels comfortable of saying, "Hey, I'm not going to rent anymore. I'm going to go buy a home."
Mm-hmm.
It's really hurt the first-time home buyers, all markets. Okay.
Especially, I know a couple of years, like the 2-3 years ago, where everything was like 50,000 over list price just to
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
try to compete with it. So it's like, I know now it's like, depending on obviously the area, but where you're going, you're a little closer to list price when you're putting in the offer than you were a
Right
couple
now.
of years ago. Where
Sub 200,
Yeah.
250. I would argue you're
Never.
not competing with institutional buyers whatsoever
Right.
anymore, right? So you're dealing with the same buyer pool. So like you might get 3 over, 5 over. Like
Right.
that's
Right.
about it. Because the ones we got a 110, a 150, and a 200, and it was literally a block off of University of Indianapolis, which was a good area. We got one in Irvington, which was great, and we got one in Plainfield, right? And so all of them were great areas, great houses, all sub 200, all of them down payment assistance.
Right.
So I was gonna say I looked up right now, currently active in Mybor, which this is a 16 county donut area. There are currently 1,500
Wait a minute.
homes.
Did you say donuts?
Yeah, donut.
I like donuts.
I love donuts, Kyle. Go ahead. What'd you say?
Yeah, bagels in the room.
God, you guys, squirrel.
Okay, come on.
Jeez.
Let's hear it.
So 1,500 houses are currently on the market today, under 300 in all of Mybor. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
So let's look at that. So under 200, there's actually 738. So once we drop to 200, there's 738. So if I looked at those 738, here are the towns that have the most amount of activity in these price points. So you can, if you're thinking, I really want to buy a home, here's some ideas of where: Alexandria, Anderson, Columbus, Franklin, Shelbyville, Muncie, Greencastle, Greenfield. And in the Indianapolis area, it's Warren Township, Perry Township, Wayne Township, and Center Township. So there's quite a few.
So you got a lot of
places to
inventory
look at.
in that category to go out.
738 homes under 200 today. So they're out there. Now we're getting back to the conversation of getting the buyer to understand how they can go out and make these offers. But you were talking about Greenfield, Kyle.
Yeah. So when I was doing the stats, right, as far as like we're looking at sub 100, sub 200, sub 300, right? And I mean, it's kind of low. Like, I'll just be honest. When I looked at Fisher's, I have like 3 under 200. I have 3 in the 2 to 3 range, and I have 12 in the 3 to 4 range. And then in Noblesville, I have 2 under 200. I have 7 under in between 2 and 300, and I have 22.
So there's some inventory out there for people to buy.
Yeah, but if you look at Greenfield, and I live in Hancock County myself,
Okay.
And I love it out there. I live in McCordsville.
We love you out there.
And I work out of Carmel. I have 3 under 100. I have 8 between 1 and 2, and I have 21 between 2 and 300.
And Greenfield's a great
Greenfield's a great area.
It's 25, 27 minutes into downtown Indy, literally, because you got 70 running right in there.
Well, that's how long it takes us from here to get to downtown.
It is.
No,
right?
I know it.
Exactly.
It's just a different direction, and it's a great area.
It's a great area. I love it out there. So I don't know. That's when we really have these conversations about, like, where do you want to live? And if you specifically want to live in a certain area, then, like, yeah, I'll just be honest, you may be limited. If you are open to where you want to live, we can make anything happen.
Right.
Like, that's the reality of it, right?
Currently today, 738 homes to pick from.
Okay.
So, and just real quick, I want to say in Carmel, there's 1 under 200, 3 under 200,
Okay,
and
but
23 under 300. So Carmel even has
It's got some.
27 under 400.
Okay, but before we get into those stats real quick, I want to go back to Raquel. I want to ask you if there's 1 or 2 more questions you want answered before we get into the traffic report.
I think we ended up covering
good.
the majority of it, luckily.
But, I think it was so good that you brought up the points like, let's understand what we're doing. So we're going to do a whiteboard, and we're going to explain this so they can see it on YouTube. And I think it's going to help a lot of people, and it's the first-time home buyers. And I am going to go to a word that somebody brought up here, that I thought it was just last week. But you're right. It does have a lot of buyer's fatigue in it for the first-time home buyer.
Right.
And the bottom line is this was really, I believe, Shelly's and Raquel's idea to come up with this show.
We talked about it after a show.
Yeah,
one
but
time.
you're the one to kind of push for it, and I'm so glad that we did it. No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and it's going to open up our show to a different direction to help a lot of people.
Well, we just, always give a call if you just have any little questions, but then nothing's ever too little for
Right.
us.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
just ask.
Okay,
On
we are
that closing it real quick, I just want to tell you. So call an agent. Like, that's all you got to do. People are afraid to
Call
call
Shelly
an agent.
Walters.
And I know there's this concern. It's like, oh,
Kyle
you don't
Morris.
want to do that. And I do know agents that are like that, but I'm not like that. Shelly's not like that. Justin's not like that. Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
All 3 of the people who called us saying, I don't think I can buy a house, but I was given your
Because a
number.
lot of people have given up that
And all 3 of them
dream
got a
of
house.
owning a home. They don't think it's possible anymore.
You're right.
Well,
Call
Said,
an
"It's
agent.
over."
So I just want to say something, and this is just coming from my heart, is I am here to help people through real estate.
Yeah.
I know you
that
are.
if you will call me and tell me I really want to buy a home, I don't think I can do it, I am darn well going
I
to figure
guarantee
out how
you
to
will.
get that done for you.
And I know Kyle will. I know Justin will. So you got people that want to help people, and then there's some people, I have to say, that just, if the deal's not big enough, they're not going to waste their time, and they don't want to educate. It's fun to
It
educate.
is more fun than anything to set at a closing for the first-time home buyer
way
who
more
said at the
rewarding.
beginning that said, I don't think I can do this. That is, extremely rude.
That happened to me. I mean, I was a first-time home buyer.
Everybody is at some point.
Okay. Thank you for this subject, and thank you for coming on the show, Raquel. I appreciate it very much. And then let's go into the traffic report, and let's kick off with you, Shelly, please.
Okay, so in Carmel, we had 31 hit the market, 18 of those pended, and in the past 7 days, the average days on market was 10, and the median was 4, so we're hovering right there at 4 median. Currently active is 87, 28 are new builds, and there are anywhere from between 250 and 3.6 million. 142 sold in the past 30 days. 13 of those were new builds. And then the days on market for 30 days past here in Carmel, again, 15 and 4 for the median.
Wow.
So same. Westfield, 23 hit the market. 8 of those pended. Average days on market is Westfield slower, but again, this is such a huge
What is the average?
new build. Average was 23 and median was 14.
Wow.
189 are currently on the market, anywhere from 275 to 3.2 million. 113 of those are new builds, so only 76 are resales. In the past 30 days, 160 sold, 65 were new builds, and the average days on market was 44, and 8 was the median. Zionsville had 8 hit the market, 2 pended, average days on market 15 and median 14, so hovering around 2 weeks. 52 currently active, anywhere from 325 to 8.9. 15 of those are new builds. 49 have sold in the past 30 days, and the average days on market 9, median was 4. So I just want to say, so I'm watching these 30 days sold in Zionsville. They're only putting 8 to 12 on the market a week, and they keep selling 49 or so, 48. Currently, there's only 52 active, and last 30 days, 49. I just see Zionsville's inventory really start to disappear quickly if this rate continues. So if you're thinking of selling in Zionsville, it's a great day for you to do that.
Okay. Kyle, let's move over to you for your side of the fence.
So Fisher's had 31 go on the market, anywhere from 160 to 2.35. 18 are still active, 13 of them pended, 36 total actually pended. There's 99 total on the market. Average days on market is 32, median is 6. So that goes back to, you either sell really quick or, you take about a month, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's rocket science.
30 days, remember back in the day when it was 180 or
You're a
something
rock
like
star
that.
at 30 days, right? Yeah. Noblesville, 32 on the market, 16 are active, 16 pended, 31 total actually pended. There's 100 on the market. Noblesville is actually like 12 days on market. Average is median, or the median is 5, which is kind of interesting. But both of the inventories have actually kind of hovered like right around 100 for both cities. And then I got Justin's here. So
Okay, but are you going to do Justin's voice?
I can't do that. He's tall. He's got a deep voice.
Okay,
I'd be doing him a
Justin's with
disservice,
Keller
quite
Williams,
honest.
but actually he went down to Columbus today to sell a home. He had 3 to show, and he's down there.
Columbus was in our affordability list.
I know it is. But anyway,
We'll go anywhere.
Let's see what Meridian Kessler has, please.
So Meridian Kessler, let's see, in the past 7 days, 7 pended. There's 6 active. There's actually 27 on the market in Meridian Kessler. But as we were talking about, Meridian Kessler is a much broader area.
Absolutely. It goes all the way down to
38th Street.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's not just 800 and Williams Creek and stuff like that, So 7 of them sold anywhere from 285 to 875. Average days on market is 3 days.
Right.
Yeah. And then in Broad Ripple in the last 7 days, 15 have gone on the, there's 15 total on the market actually. In the past 7 days, 3 went active, 3 pended. 4 sold anywhere from 259 to 399. Average sales price is 345, and days on market is 4, and median is 2.
Wow.
In Broad Ripple.
Let me go back.
Insane.
Yeah, thank you for the traffic report, everybody, because I know it takes a little time to put that together. One thing I want to explain, when I did the mortgage calculation, I did put average escrows and MIP in there, or mortgage insurance. So if anybody calls up and says that payment's not wrong, it's not wrong. I put escrows in there. Okay. So Raquel, thank you for coming on the show. We're going to have you on the show probably in about 3 to 4 weeks, and we're going to go through this again. And we're going to probably do this for a while, because I think it's a really, really good thing to do as some first-time home buyers. And let's take the fatigue out of the buyer so they can get educated on this. And we'll do some examples on the whiteboard. All the editing is done by Raquel behind the scenes.
And I want to say that we need to be saying more often. We get a lot of comments of people in person saying they like the podcast, but it would really help us out if you rate and like our podcast, comment any questions you do have. We do have a YouTube channel. It's just the Indy Real Estate Market Podcast. Straight on YouTube if you want to watch us videoed. Everything.
Thank you.
Really does help us out.
Yeah. I'm really glad we did this one. It was really timely. To educate people so they can start reaching out to us, because best time for a first time home buyer to really kind of start really getting in the market is this fall and this winter. There's less buyers. I mean, it's a really good time.
Yeah, it's not that like you're out in a rush to buy something, but you got time to learn it, understand it, feel it, and then you're ready for next spring. And then some of them be ready. I remember when fall and winter used to be slow, and sometimes it's not like that anymore.
No.
It's crazy what people will buy around the holidays. But thank you, everybody. Kyle, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how can they do it?
It's Morse Property Group with FC.Tucker, 317-649-5122.
Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Group with FC.Tucker. How do they get a hold of you, Shelly?
You can reach me on my cell phone, 317-201-2601.
And Justice in Columbus, Indiana, Justin Griffiths. Kyle did his stats today. He's with Keller Williams, Indy Metro Northeast. That's just a long name for a company. But hey, everybody, my name's Tony Cardenas, the host of the show. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.